In this video, we're going to begin the order of operations with roots. And roots fall right in here with the order of operations. That is, they're in line 1 along with absolute value and power. And they come before multiplication and division and before addition and subtraction. When we have integer exponents, a good way to think about finding a root is that we're looking for a base. In the past, you were given the base and the exponent, and you found the power. Now I'm going to give you the exponent and the power, and it will be your job to find the base. This symbol, the radical symbol then, will tell us we're looking for a base. I need to tell you the original exponent, and I do that right here with what's called the index. If you don't see a number here for the index, it's a 2, and we call it a square root. I also have to tell you the original power, and that goes right underneath, right in here, and that's called the radicand. So this is saying find a base, which when you have this exponent on the base, you'll get this as the final power. So this is saying find a base, so that if the base has an exponent of 2, the power is 9. And of course that base is a 3 because if you take that base and square it, you do get a 9. You should memorize these 11 square roots and these 6 cube roots. And the radicand of a cube root could be either positive or negative, so you should also know these 5 cube roots. Now let's talk about a couple of issues with square roots. There are actually issues with any radical that has an even index, but we'll be doing mostly square roots when we have even indexes. If I ask students why is square root of 4 equal to 2, they'll say, well, because if you square 2, you get a 4. That is the base, which when squared gives a 4. And it's true, it is. Except so's negative 2. If you square the quantity negative 2, you also get a 4. So why isn't negative 2 the square root of 4? Well, the answer is, it is. There are 2 square roots of 4. So both 2 and negative 2 are square roots of 4. When people ask you to find the square root of 4, they're really interested in you finding the principal square root. And they should have been saying that. The principal square root acknowledges that in this case there's a couple of bases that would work, but we want the positive base only. A second issue has to do with even indexes and negative radicands. How much is the square root of negative 4? Well, 2 doesn't work, of course, because we just saw that gives us positive 4. Negative 2 also doesn't work, though, because we just saw that that also gives us positive 4. And in fact, there is no real number that works. Now, there is a number that works, but talking about that would take us a little far afield today. We'll get into the issue a little later in the course. But for right now, if you have an even index like a 2, and again, even though we don't see a 2 here, it's here. So when you have an even index but a negative radicand, you just want to say that it isn't a real number. Well, that concludes the introduction to radicals. In the next video or two, we'll be doing problems with order of operations.